What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk about Manga Luffy. I have had a lot of messages and comments and questions over the past day about Manga Luffy, basically asking me what's going on, is this real, is it really a $4,000 card, and if it is a $4,000 card, is it going to stick as a $4,000 card? Okay, so let's start off with where this actually came from. And where this actually came from was TCG Player. A lot of people check TCG Player both to buy cards and to check on cards. And that's absolutely fair. And that is what's happened in the past day or two. And what people have noticed in the past day or two is that there have been two sales of Manga Luffy which has sold for $3,999.99. They're right there, listed on TCG Player. These aren't listings, these are actual sales that have apparently actually happened. But hang on a second, the sale before that was $2,800. In fact, I'm not going to show you every single sale, but we had these two sales of $4,000. Well, if we go back to the 12th of December, it was hovering around $1,800 to $2,200. We then saw a jump on Christmas Eve up to $2,800, and we had 5 in a row at $2,800, and then a massive jump in the new year straight up to $4,000. And look, I'm not saying this is not absolutely legit, because without being able to have a lovely interview with both the buyer and the seller, it's impossible to know if these are absolutely legit sales. What I am saying is, this is very weird sales data. Now, I understand that sought after cards will jump in price over time, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying the jump from basically $2,200 to $2,800, which happened on Christmas Eve, was weird. The jump from $2,800 to $4,000, come on, really? I mean, that represents basically an overnight jump of 43%. 1,200 out of 2,800, which is how much it jumped, is 43%, and that happened basically overnight. And I cannot stress this enough, I do not know about these sales particularly. I was not there. I can see that they've happened on TCG Player. I am neither the buyer nor the seller, and I wasn't there. I cannot tell you certainly what happened, and the only people that can are the buyer and the seller. But what I am telling you is that a random jump of 43% overnight is extremely unusual because, well, I mean, if you have a look at the rest of the sales, 2,200, 1,800, 2,200, 2,800, 2,800, 2,800, 2,800, 2,800. It kind of took a little bit of a jump, and the 600 jump was huge. The 1,200 jump after that, that is, if nothing else, suspicious. Not saying it's anything untoward, not saying it's not legit, but I am saying that bigger jump overnight is absolutely suspicious. So we look elsewhere. We go over to eBay, and we go, well, hang on a second, what's happening to Manga Luffy over on eBay? And if we have a look at the last few sales over on eBay, again, I wasn't here for any of them, what we see is it's not quite there, frankly. Now, if we have a look at English sales, the last 3 English sales we've got recorded over on eBay are 3,200, 3,600, 3,200. So, with that borne in mind, it is absolutely fair to say that in the new year, Manga Luffy has taken a jump. It's literally happened. We've seen it on TCG Player. We've seen it on eBay. A jump has occurred. But can we really call this a $4,000 card if the last 3 sales on eBay were 3,200, 3,600, 3,200? It is a $3,200 card with a sale which was a fair bit higher. But 2 of the last 3 sales were $3,200. And I'm not going to keep doing it, but if you keep going back and back through, recent sales are around the $3,000 mark. It is at the moment, except for these 2 sales on TCG Player, it is closer to a $3,000 card than a $4,000 card. I am not saying that the $4,000 sales are not legit. I cannot stress that enough. What I am saying is I haven't seen enough to believe that that is the new standard. We've seen 2 sales on TCG Player and none on eBay. And even after the 3,600 on eBay, there was then a 3,200 on eBay the following day, which would suggest 3,600 was not necessarily resetting the market. It absolutely could be a $4,000 card, but I don't think we've got enough data yet. Should you buy Manga Luffy right now? Oh my word, no. I cannot stress that enough either. Now is a terrible time. In fact, I would maybe go as far as to say there has never been a worse time to buy basically any TCG card than trying to buy Manga Luffy right now. Because firstly, OPO5 is great. I've called it the best set several times. I stand by that. Secondly, this is the most hyped card, and there's no question at this stage, right? There is absolutely no question whatsoever. This is by far the most hyped One Piece card we've had so far, and there really is like no legitimate competition at this stage. This is by a huge margin the most hyped One Piece TCG card we've ever seen, and there's no real competition. This is the most hyped by a mile. And we are right in the middle of that hype. And there are reasons to believe that this card is massively overpriced right now. Because you know what we can do? We can go and have a look at shops over in Japan. UUTE is a shop I like to use. Right now, they've got Manga Luffy listed at 358,000 yen. It's actually on sale. It was at about 400,000 yen. So they've got it listed for sale, as in it is on sale for 358,000 yen, which is not cheap, all right? It is not cheap. It's $2,482. Call it $2,500. Even if it wasn't on sale and it was sitting there at 398,000, that would be looking at $2,760, pretty much bang on. So if you want to call this a $2,500 card, maybe even stretching to a $3,000 card, I can go, yeah, all right. I can maybe believe that. But a $4,000 card? Nothing in Japan to suggest that whatsoever. Nothing in Japan to suggest that at all. Japan has this basically rated as a particularly awesome manga rare. And that is how it is going at the moment. And if we compare it to some of the other signature cards, literally and figuratively, Signed Luffy is currently listed at 178,000 yen, which comes in at about $1,200, which makes it a fair bit cheaper than the English version right now, honestly. If we go to OPO6 and have a look at Manga Zoro, that is $178,000, exactly the same as Signed Luffy, which means it is about a $1,200 card. And basically what we're seeing here is that this Manga Luffy is about double the other super hype cards. Your Manga Zoro, your Signed Luffy. This is basically double those. If anyone's wondering about the other manga rares, we've got Law in Japan is on the same site going for 128,000 yen, which is just a shade under $900. And Kid is going for 100,000 yen. So in Japan, Kid is the cheapest of them, just like it is over here, which is just a shade under $700. So we can look at these comparatively and go, okay, well, you know what? The manga rares are a little cheaper in Japan. So this Luffy should be a little more expensive than it is in Japan. So putting everything together, a $3,000 card actually does make sense. Looking at the price in Japan, comparing the price in Japan to the other sought-after recent cards, this is, I mean, it's not a $3,000 card in Japan. It's like a $2,400 card in Japan. But looking at everything else, yeah, calling it a $3,000 card does actually make a little bit of sense. I'm not seeing where $4,000 comes in, honestly. And frankly, over on eBay, our eBay, Japanese Luffy's a $1,600 card. I know the shop's selling it for like $24, $25, but over on eBay, it's a $1,600 card. Ignore the keyring in the middle, although that is a pretty cool keyring. Yeah, it's a $1,600 card. Like the last two sales have been $1,600. That is how much that is selling over here, the Japanese version over here. And incidentally, if you really desperately want this card, do consider just picking up the Japanese version for, well, literally half the price. So, right now, I don't think it is a $4,000 card. And I'm not saying it's not going to get there. Frankly, the hype for this thing is absurd. And I know how cool it is. You know how much I love the One Piece TCG. I think I've made that pretty clear. But I don't see where 4,000 is coming from. I'm going to need to see some more verified sales, and I'm going to need to see them in more places before I can really take it seriously that it's a $4,000 card. Now, in terms of OPO5 as a whole, I know I mentioned in the video yesterday Bandai are going to keep printing it, and a lot of people seem to disagree with that. All I can tell you is Bandai are a profit-making company, and OPO5 is selling ridiculously well, and the aim of the company is to make profit, and they've got a product that's selling really well, and if they print more, they're going to make more money, and the goal of the company is making more money, so seems probably like they're going to resell it. They're going to print more. There's going to be more coming. And also, I showed you this example previously. People said they weren't going to keep printing Romance Dawn. Here is proof that my local game store got a new shipment of Romance Dawn in the 1st of September, 9 months after this wasn't the last time I saw a new shipment. But what I'm saying is, here is proof that 9 months after Romance Dawn came out, and everybody said that was going to be scarce and they weren't going to keep reprinting it, etc. And yeah, they did. Here's it 9 months later. So we are going to see some more OPO5. But just to be clear, I don't think the reprints of OPO5 are going to drag the price of this card down. The pull rate on this Manga Luffy is very small. If this thing had a decent pull rate, it wouldn't be selling for $3,000 or more. So even when the new stock comes in, and I am absolutely convinced it will for the reasons I outlined yesterday and I just told you a second ago, it's not exactly like that's going to crash the price of Manga Luffy. It's not like this card is suddenly going to become this common card that drops down to a $10 card. It's still going to be a ridiculously hard to pull manga rare. It's still going to be Luffy. It's still going to be hyped. So, yes, I expect the price of this to come down over time. And then OPO5 will actually sell out and it will start climbing. That's the way all of these sought after cards go. Big hype, fall when stock stabilizes, set stops being printed, and then it goes up and never comes back down again. Here is the Manga Shanks graph on TCG Player to show roughly how this goes. But the reality of the situation is, for the time being, this is a very expensive card. I do expect it to come down in price as stock stabilizes, just like we saw with Manga Shanks, and then eventually it will stop being printed and go up. But right now, I'm not seeing it as a $4,000 card. I'm not seeing enough proof of it as a $4,000 card. But I absolutely am seeing proof of it as a $3,000 card, which is still ridiculous, just to be perfectly clear. And I would not even consider buying this until a bunch more OPO5 hits the market. But even then, like I've just said, it will bring the price down, but it's never going to make the card cheap, and there's going to come a time it just starts taking off. Right, that's what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of this. Tell me if you believe it's a $4,000 card. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.